Hey, Space Movie here. Today we will show you a new movie. Bring your coffee and popcorn and subscribe to the channel. Today's movie is titled There Are No Small Jobs, Only Small People. The movie starts when Lemuel Gulliver, an average guy with love for rock music, wakes up to tend to his pretty boring job in the mailroom of a newspaper in New York City. Challenged by his newly employed colleagues, he plucks up enough courage to ask out his long-lasting crush, the travel editor, journalist Darcy Leverman. However, he just does not get himself to do it. His colleagues, so soon promoted to be his boss, tells him that he basically just talks a big game but never makes anything good with his life. Devastated by these worlds, Gulliver goes to check on Darcy in her office and ended up lying his way into applying to a travel writing assignment. He goes home and keeps trying to write something to present to Darcy next morning, but he continuously fails to accomplish the task. Finally, he then combines different pieces from a known newspaper. Darcy loves the samples and decides to start him off with a piece on the Bermuda Triangle. Gulliver arrives and sets sail to his destination, falling asleep halfway through, dreaming about cheeseburgers and Darcy. He then wakes up in the middle of a violent sea storm with no signal on his cell phone. Next thing he realizes is ending up on the shores of a place called Lilliput, where very tiny people live. General Edward, commander of Lilliput, captures and arrests Gulliver, the beast that it is a threat to their island, and charges him with helping the army, Lilliput's sworn enemy. Gulliver, still in disbelief of this situation, finds himself locked up in a prison where he meets Horatio, who is looked up by General Edward for just looking at Princess Marie of Lilliput. The Blackfishing soldier starts a fire in Lilliput in an attempt to create a distraction while kidnapping Princess Marie. General Edward, while an intense hero complex, forbids anyone from saving the princess before he does. However, Gulliver interferes and successfully saves her and stops the fire, rescuing the king as well. To celebrate this victory, the king invites Gulliver for a feast, and then Gulliver requests the freedom of his friend Horatio first. When his request is granted by the king, they all have a nice royal banquet together. The royal family now sees Gulliver as a hero and a savior, and now they are more interested in his life and his stories. Gulliver takes that chance to create a better, more interesting, and more successful version of himself. For the people of Lilliput, Gulliver is from the island of Manhattan, where he was the noble and victorious president of a democracy. He was known as President the Awesome. He also is Jack from Titanic and Luke from Star Wars. He also left his Princess Darcy, Silverman of Manhattan, back home. He basically lies his way into the heart of the tiny people. The royal family is now invested in Gulliver's stories to the point where the king start missing military meetings and exercises. Lilliput's people are pretty fine builders, so they use their resources to build Gulliver a nice house and remake his boat so he could go back home whenever he wants to. When the soldiers located his phone, Gulliver checks his voicemail and realizes that Darcy had discovered he had faked the pieces on the travel, which made her so disappointed and upset with him. She also informed him that since he has been missing for about a week, she was obligated to go after Bermuda Triangle story herself. Among his fun activities, Gulliver starts teaching Horatio how to impress Princess Marie, as they have liked each other from afar for so long. Gulliver is now appointed as the new general of the army, and Edward is the new vice general. Furious with this update, Edward turns off their defense system. As a result, the Blackfishings are quick to attack them with their entire armada. Luckily, Gulliver manages to defeat them and his glory continues. Princess Marie finally faces Edward that they are not in love and must not keep this relationship going, which makes him even angrier about how things are going. He decides to join forces with the Blackfishing army and attack Lilliput. Edward then wears a giant robot gear and challenges Gulliver to a duel. Just as the battle starts, Gulliver quickly surrenders and tells everyone how he lied before about all of his glorious stories. He is then banished to the island where they dare not to go. Now the story shifts a little bit, where he becomes the doll of a giant young girl. Everyone is huge on this island. After the Blefuscian took over Lilliput, the king and queen are imprisoned and Princess Mary is obligated to marry Edward. On the shores of Lilliput, Darcy is captured by Edward and his soldiers after she wanted to accomplish the assignment herself and took the same route as Gulliver. Horatio goes to find Gulliver and updates him on the situation back in the island and about Darcy's arrival. They both manage to escape the island where they dare not to go. Gulliver then explains things to Darcy and heads to have a second duel with Edward in his robot gear. They have an intense battle, and with a little help from Horatio, Gulliver wins and old order is restored in Lilliput. Now Horatio and Princess Mary are given permission by the king to be engaged. Also, Gulliver and Darcy are officially in a relationship now. Therefore, everybody except for Edward wins. Gulliver and Darcy go back to New York City and Gulliver officially starts his travel reporting career. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like this video and leave your comments down below. Also subscribe to our channel for more videos like these. I will see you guys on the next one.